Hello everyone, my name is Brandon Quandt and this is my spring 2023 OMNI presentation for my History 101 honors class with Professor Christopher Sleeper. Today I'll be discussing the key role of Facebook in the January 6th United States insurrection and the Brazilian Capitol attacks. Before the invention of the internet and subsequently the advent of social media, the ability for anyone with a commonly available technology to instantly mass communicate a message that is available whenever and wherever was considered an extreme impossibility in terms of futuristic technology. Facebook, created in 2004 and founded by Mark Zuckerberg, is an extremely popular social media platform that is used for mass communication. Ever since its invention, the platform has been praised for its ability to connect people in a digital world. However, this ability to communicate instantaneously with a global audience also has its dangers and makes Facebook and social media as a whole a controversial subject. One danger in particular is the potential to communicate en masse results in a hostile environment that could be used to spread polarizing messages and lead to radical groups being able to organize violent acts. Recently, two large-scale insurrections took place: the United States January 6, 2021 Capitol attack and the Brazilian Congress attack on January 8, 2023. Both violent attacks were orchestrated by far-right groups against democracy and wanted to overturn recent election results. The January 6 Capitol attack was led by a mob of supporters of former President Donald Trump. After the former president lost the 2020 election to Joe Biden, he and his advisors spread misinformation about the election being rigged. These rioters were highly organized and came from all over the country to launch the attack. People from a variety of far-right militia groups, including QAnon, the Oath Keepers, and the Proud Boys, participated in the attack. As a result of the attack, 5 people lost their lives. Trump was impeached in the House of Representatives a second time because of his role in inciting violence at the Capitol. The attack on democracy has often marked a tragic day in the nation's history. In Brazil, former President Jair Bolsonaro lost to Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva in the Brazil 2022 election. This prompted a mob of supporters of Bolsonaro to storm the Capitol and disrupt the peaceful democratic transition of power. Both United States and Brazilian politics struggle with political extremists quickly spreading harmful ideologies in online places such as Facebook. These extremists are highly organized and have planned violent and terroristic acts using social media, including the aforementioned Capitol riots. The social media platform Facebook played a significant role in both the January 6th Capitol insurrection and the Brazilian Congress attack. The social media platform Facebook has a significant role in the January 6th insurrection in the United States. Facebook can be exploited for sharing violent political ideologies and be used to propel these radical ideologies to the mainstream, which can cause severe harm to democracy. According to an international survey conducted by the Pew Research Center, a median of 57% of people say that social media is beneficial for democracy. The remaining 35% of people surveyed internationally believe social media causes harm to democracy. However, when the poll was run domestically in the United States, 34% of people believe that social media helped democracy. The survey also concluded domestically that 64% of people in the United States felt that the social media harms democracy. This stark discrepancy in the results between the survey conducted internationally and domestically is a likely sign of the distrust of social media platforms such as Facebook by the American people. This distrust of the Facebook platform stems from the belief that social media platforms are an easy way to access repositories for violent and extremist political beliefs that harm democracy. Facebook, the most commonly used social media platform in the United States, was very likely aware of its strong attractiveness to the usage by political extremists in America. Frances Haugen, a former Facebook product manager and now whistleblower, describes the common testing method for recommendation algorithms. The recommendation algorithm is a closely guarded secret by the company and determines recommendations for users based on their activity on the platform. The algorithm is often subject to controversy due to the extreme recommendations it can produce. The aforementioned testing method was for Facebook employees to create new accounts and complete minor interactions such as biographical updates and following different celebrities and politicians. One account was assigned the name Carol Smith, and this account was given a description by the employees of a politically conservative mother from Wilmington, North Carolina. The employees also followed several right-leaning accounts on this test account, such as then-President Donald Trump and Fox News. Even though the researchers on the testing account did not have the account show any interest in conspiracy theories, the account was recommended that joining groups such as QAnon in just a matter of a couple of days. QAnon followers subscribe to a baseless conspiracy theory that claims that former President Donald Trump is on a heroic mission in order to save the world from a vast ring led by celebrities and politicians that is deemed by the group to be pedophiles and Satanists. Within a week, the account was filled with suggestions of people joining conspiracy groups that broke Facebook's terms of service against hate speech and discrimination, along with posts from news groups. According to an article published by NBC News, that researcher said that Smith's Facebook experience was a barrage of extreme conspiratorial and graphic content. The researcher in question was an employee from Facebook and described that the account was frequently pushed into rabbit holes, which are echo chambers in which opposing thoughts are shut down and violent conspiracy theories are normalized among group members. These aforementioned tests all support Hagen's argument that Facebook prioritized profit over fixing the algorithm that leads initially mainstream users down politically extreme rabbit holes. The powerful polarization of Facebook's fund demonstrates a clear connection with creating the perfect storm of widespread beliefs in online violent conspiracy theories leading up to the riot. However, an equally significant point is that Facebook played a role in the riot due to its ability to plan the riot by insurrectionists during the Capitol attack. Facebook as a company felt originally proud in their efforts to stop radical and violent political messaging in the days after the 2020 election leading up to the riot. On the day of the January 6th violent riot, thousands of supporters of then-President Donald Trump spread messages in support of movements such as QAnon and Stop the Steal. These movements often glorify the president and peddle radical beliefs and encourage users to commit extreme acts of violence. According to an article by the Washington Post, measures of online mayhem surge alarmingly on Facebook, with users' reports of false news hitting nearly 40,000 per hour, an internal data showed during a report. This metric evidently shows that Facebook was used by supporters of the insurrection to spread radical ideologies and misinformation about the election during the riot. After the majority of the chaos occurred, Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook, announced a temporary ban of then-President Donald Trump on Facebook on January 6 due to his role in the violent insurrection. This ban has been recently lifted on January 25, 2023. In the days leading up to the riot, many Facebook posts contained violent threats by extremists who believe in the legitimacy of the United States presidential election. According to a statistic by ProPublica, over 65,000 posts on Facebook attack the legitimacy of the 2020 election between Election Day and the January 6th insurrection. The posts frequently describe beliefs regarding the election, such as rising up and waging a civil war against people who believed in the fairness of the election results. The ProPublica article also states, if Facebook's reliance on groups to drive engagement gave those lies unequal reach. This combined with the sag and post-election enforcement to make Facebook a key vector for pushing ideas that fueled violence on January 6th. This excerpt illustrates that Facebook groups are able to push ideas to fuel violence on January 6th due to the lack of moderation by Facebook moderators. These groups were unrestricted as Facebook did not prioritize dealing with the misinformation surrounding the election and the resulting violent plans, including the organization of the insurrection, were freely shared on Facebook with almost no penalty for anyone. This lack of action from Facebook demonstrates carelessness by the company and shows that the platform is acceptable to be used by politically extreme groups in the United States. To summarize, Facebook was heavily used to share violent far-right messaging in the United States, which garnered support and participation for the January 6th insurrection, which was also partly planned on Facebook and groups. Facebook was heavily used as a tool in the January 8th Brazilian Congress attack. In Brazil, Facebook is often used by far-right groups to recruit members and share harmful and polarizing political messages. Misinformation on Facebook and other social media sites in Brazil was used to influence voters in the 2022 Brazilian election. Brazilian voters faced a bombardment of online misinformation posted by individuals and organizations of all different political beliefs. However, right-wing misinformation has been posted the most in the context of Brazil. An article by Associated Political News states that Bolsonaro has long claimed the country's electronic voting system has been used to commit fraud, though he has repeatedly failed to produce proof. As a result, false or misleading information on the reliability of the country's electronic voting machines has also spread widely on social media. The quotation clearly shows that far right-wing political entities, including politicians such as Jair Bolsonaro, have spread misinformation on social media platforms, including Facebook. Jair Bolsonaro and his supporters have spread conspiracies all over Facebook and other platforms, claiming that the country's electronic voting system is susceptible to mass fraud influencing the election results. These unsupported claims are spread en masse on the platform and targeted voters in an attempt to influence them to change the results of the election. These posts laid the ground for the subsequent challenge of the election by members of the far right after Jair Bolsonaro lost the election. All of this led up to the violent action taken at the Capitol by the mob, protesting for what they believe was an unfair and stolen election. The Brazilian Congress attack was planned in detail by rioters on Facebook, and Facebook did little to stop it. Facebook was used leading up to the riot to catapult violent far-right messaging to the forefront of Brazilian social media. One article by Politico describes the following. On Twitter, social media users posted thousands of images and videos in support of the attacks under the hashtag Manifestação, or protest. On Facebook, the same hashtag garnered thousands of engagements via likes, shares, and comments, mostly in favor of the riots, according to CrowdTangle, the social media analytics tool owned by Meta. This all happened despite Meta pledging to remove any post in praise of the violence. The excerpt demonstrates that social media companies such as Meta promised to remove all of the posts attacking the results of the election. However, there was a failure to do so by the companies, including Meta. Posts in favor of the violent insurrection in Brazil were able to easily flourish and gain thousands of likes and comments and be interacted with as a normal post despite its content. This extreme lack of action on Facebook's part exemplifies the carelessness of the company as a whole, as they did not want to remove content that violated their own terms of service. Facebook was used as a place to both organize the Capitol attack and by rioters to communicate during the attacks and cause further damage to the Capitol and the democracy of Brazil. The Brazilian Congress attack was planned and organized on Facebook, and sometimes the planners used coded language to avoid being banned. In an article by the Washington Post, it states that online influencers who deny the results of this country's presidential election used a particular phrase to summon patriots to what they called Festa de Salma, tweaking the word salva, a military term for war cry, by substituting the M for the V in hopes of avoiding detection from Brazilian authorities who have called the wide latitude to arrest people for anti-democratic postings online. Festa is the Portuguese word for party. This quote explains Brazilian insurrectionists who planned the riot on social media often used deceitful tactics to avoid detection from authorities who could punish them for their anti-democratic postings. Online social media influencers who adamantly denied the election results used innocent terms such as party to describe the riot and not raise any suspicion to protect themselves from getting caught by Facebook or authorities in order to plan the violent attack. This exhibition firmly shows that Facebook was utilized by insurrectionists discreetly, but clearly to organize a violent mob-led attack on social media, including Facebook. The Brazilian Capitol attack was organized and live-streamed on social media, including Facebook. Before the riot, Facebook was used as a platform for communicating the plans of the riot. It was also used for gaining support for the insurrection through the spread of misinformation about the legitimacy of the 2022 Brazilian election. The rioters used Facebook's live streaming capability to better coordinate during the attack and spread misinformation about the attack and the election. According to the nonprofit organization NPR, there are photos and videos being shared to Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and many people were praising the rioters. The article, including the excerpt, distinctly illustrates the importance of usage by rioters on social media platforms as Facebook to coordinate the attack. Photos and videos of the riot were shared on Facebook with an overwhelming support for these violent rioters. The rioters used Facebook prior to the riot in order to plan out the attack so they could better cause damage to democracy. Facebook was used to polarize Brazilians and organize the Brazilian Congress attack, both before the riot and during it. In conclusion, Facebook is an extremely powerful tool that has been abused by many, in particular the rioters of both the January 6th insurrection and the Brazilian January 8th, 2023 Capitol attacks. The platform is often used in the United States and Brazil to communicate extremist thoughts and messages. The January 6th insurrection was thoroughly planned on Facebook. The Brazilian Congress was attacked by rioters using Facebook to their advantage. Facebook is a component that is heavily used by American and Brazilian far-right groups that are against democracy and spreading extremist ideology and recruiting members. In both events, Facebook played a key role in organizing the attacks against democracy. The topic is extremely important as the invention of the internet and social media has led to unprecedented large-scale planning of violent attacks on social media. Facebook will continue to be used by extremist groups to spread their ideology and plan violent attacks on democracies around the world unless meaningful action is taken by companies and governments. In addition to current tactics used by extremist groups, new advancements in artificial intelligence could lead to new forms of disinformation. One concern in particular is that an artificial intelligence-powered imitation of someone, also known as a deepfake, could be used to spread misinformation and as a result lead to more chaos. This chaos may start online but lead to real-life violence and the destruction of democracies. And here's my bibliography for my project. Thank you for listening.